Alright, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to another Fix Your Gut live stream. I am your host, John Brisson. We're going to do a quick question and answer. So if anybody has their questions, go on and get them in the chat now. If anybody can think of anything they want to ask me. Again, I am not a doctor. I'm not a healthcare professional. I hold no degree in health. However, I am someone who is knowledgeable. So take my advice as someone who is a friend, and run every advice I give you by your healthcare professional. So here's your chance. You ask questions. I usually charge for this. I got click here if you guys need any health coaching. You can come get both male and female supplement recommendations by downloading the Optimal Health Blueprint on the Fix Your Gut website. Get a copy of my book, Fix Your Gut. You can order some liposomal glutathione from Frontline Performance. It's the old bulletproof glutathione. Use the code Fix Your Gut for 10% off. This stuff's the only stuff that I would use as far as glutathione is concerned. And smidge probiotic. Okay, so what type of colitis are we talking about here? We talking about ulcerative colitis? It depends on what type of colitis. Yeah, but are you constipated, Cheesy Puffs? Have you been diagnosed with ulcerative colitis? I doubt it's a pseudomembranous colitis, which is usually caused when someone has a severe gut infection, like a Clostridium difficile infection. Have you been diagnosed with a specific type of colitis? Like, what part of your colitis is what colitis? What part of your colon is inflamed? Are there ulcers? Are there not ulcers? No constipation? Huh. So let's say you just eat like white rice. Do you have the bleeding then if you eat white rice, Cheesy Puffs? Or is it just harsh foods like brown rice? The very end. So you have prostatitis likely, or proctosigmoiditis. You ever been diagnosed with any hemorrhoids? Is the blood bright red, or is it black? How much water are you consuming? Are you using a squatty potty? How much liquid are you consuming on it? How much water are you drinking? So it seems like to me you either got some sort of hemorrhoidal tissue. It could be prostatitis too, maybe. So I would recommend a couple of things. One, I would recommend getting a squatty potty to correct your anal rectal angle. We weren't designed to use the bathroom on a porcelain throne. We squat. We're supposed to squat when we defecate. And not squatting puts excess pressure on the puborectalis muscle. So I'd recommend getting a squatty potty. It costs you like $20 to $30. Everyone should have one who's dealing with constipation, or just in general. I have them on both toilets at my house. Everybody in my family uses them. And that's first things first. Anytime you're ever having any type of digestive issues, is mainly dealing with the colon, you want to get a squatty potty. It may not completely solve the issue, and I don't think it would, but overall it's just better for digestive health to do that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is is I would recommend making sure you're consuming enough liquid. So first off, you want to make sure that your urine is not completely clear, because if it's completely clear, you're drinking up too much water. Your urine should always be slightly yellow. If it's too yellow or amber or too dark, you're dehydrated. So usually that's a marker. Maybe try a little bit of magnesium cheesy puffs and see if it softens the stool as an osmotic laxative. So 200 to 400 milligrams of magnesium malate. During the day, the malic acid might be able to give you a little bit of extra energy and mitochondrial support, because malate's a part of the electron transport chain. So just try those first. You might want to try a soft soluble fiber like acacia fiber, Heather's tummy fiber, and get a teaspoon of that and follow the directions and mix it with the water and wait, and then mix it again until it forms a gel, and start taking maybe that cheesy puffs and see if it helps. And then see if you can go back to eating white rice. Brown rice would be more hard for you to digest. Beans would be harder to digest. Let's try those first. Get back to me if you don't feel any difference. Okay, I think you probably should doing those things. If you don't, email me at john@fixyourgut. I'll see if I can think of anything else that you could do. Might have to do maybe probiotic enemas. This is so distal part of your colon, to correct any dysbiosis you may have. But let's just see if that helps first. Try that. Okay. Well, yeah, but sometimes you want to eat rice, right? Rosalind's right. Soaking your beans would reduce the phytic acid and anti-nutrient component of beans. And it may help with digestion if they sprout them, maybe. Well, the yams, now are we talking about sweet potatoes, cheesy puffs, or are we talking about the actual yam? There's a difference between a yam and a sweet potato. A yam is a larger tuber that comes from Africa. Sweet potatoes are an offshoot of morning glories. I would assume sweet potatoes is probably what you're eating instead of yams. Sweet potatoes are just a good source of fiber. It's probably why. It's probably allowing your stool to absorb more water to be not as hard, which the acacia fiber might help some with that. So Tash asks, question to my gut. I need the best recommendation for problems right before my menstrual cycle. I get a serious urge for diarrhea. I think my intestines are clogged and I feel like I'm going to faint. My heart rate speeds up and I swear I could pass out. Well, that could be... I mean, obviously the hormone fluctuations of your cycle before menstruation. And we do know that fluctuations of progesterone and estrogen can shift to constipation or diarrhea. Usually the higher amounts of estrogen and progesterone lead to diarrhea, and lower amounts of progesterone and estrogen lead to constipation. That's a tough one. Does the heart rate speed up because you have diarrhea? That's common. Most people with diarrhea end up getting a higher heart rate. So that's common. That's something that happens. Without any testing to see if you have bacteria in your gut that produce beta-glucuronidase. You could try maybe some activated charcoal, but you'd have to take it hours away from any medications or supplements. Bulletproof makes a good activated charcoal from coconut charcoal. On you know, the days before, as long as you can time out your cycle right. So the days before you menstruate, you could start taking 1 or 2 capsules of thank you, Cheesy Puffs. You don't have to do that, but thank you. You could try activated charcoal a few days beforehand, 1 or 2 capsules, and then when you're actually menstruating, you know, take 2 or 3 capsules of activated charcoal total throughout the day, and see if that stops the diarrhea. Yeah, Tash. Most of the time, they're going to have to run a specialized gut test like GI map or GI effects, and most doctors aren't going to order that. The test to see if there's any beta-glucuronidase elevated levels by the bacteria in your gut. There seems to be some sort of hormonal disruption going on. You could just, I mean, calcium D-glucurate's relatively safe, so you could try a supplement that has calcium D-glucarate and DIM together, just to see if that helps properly modulate estrogen in your body. You could chop up, the activated charcoal would also mop up extra estrogen in the digestive tract. You could also chop up a carrot if you could tolerate carrots very finely, and mix a little bit of coconut oil if you could tolerate that, a little bit of vinegar and salt, and make a carrot salad like Ray Pete would, and ingest that a few days before your menstruation starts and after, and see if that helps. You could take enteric-coated peppermint oil to slow down intestinal spasms. Nature's Way. 1 or 2 a day. You have to take it 30 minutes before a meal so the peppermint oil doesn't dissolve in your stomach, because menthol, the main component of peppermint oil, can weaken your lower esophageal sphincter and trigger reflux. But you could do that. Try any of those first. Tash. Try them one at a time and see maybe if that helps. If it doesn't, email me at john@fixyourgut.com. I'll ask a friend of mine who I'm going to have. I'm recording right now an in-depth conversation with her in the membership section for Fix Your Gut about hormones. She's a bioidentical hormone practitioner. Her name is Suzanne. She's brilliant. I know some about hormones, but it's not my specific expertise. I know more about their effects on the gut, progesterone, estrogen, and testosterone. And I know, and actually, I guess you could say this a little bit biased because I'm a male. I know more of the effects of testosterone on human health than I do progesterone and estrogen. But acid reflux, like heartburn. I wrote a blog today on heartburn. Check it out, Tash, on my site. It's right here. I actually need to retitle it. It shouldn't just be called heartburn. But just try some of the recommendations on here and see if they help your heartburn. Let's see, I had another question. Hey, Jesse, how you doing? Taking betaine HCl would help with the low gastrin levels. We really need to get down to the bottom, and I've been doing some research for you, looking around. We really need to look. Really need to get down to the bottom of why you're dealing with the low gastrin levels. I'm not going to go into detail because you're our client, long-term client, individually for you. But I mean, yeah, you could try betaine HCl and see if that would help. The problem is with betaine HCl, you gotta be careful. Is betaine does contain sulfur, so some people who have sulfur issues can react negatively to betaine HCl if they can't process sulfur. But it could help. I'm seeing that low gastrin, and I don't know if this has been through your research, Jesse, might have something to do with is it the peritoneal cells of the stomach? Hold on. Yes, so you have the gastrin cells, you have the parietal cells, and you have the gastric chief cells. And all of these cells react to or secrete or produce gastrin. And gastrin is a peptide hormone that stimulates the secretion of gastric acid by parietal cells, okay? So if you have low gastrin, you're not going to produce a lot of stomach acid. So you got to upregulate that. So if the cells in the stomach get damaged, whether it's from ibuprofen, frequent alcohol use, dysbiosis, medications, trigger gastritis, which is inflammation of the stomach lining, then you could have reduction of gastrin. You can also have reduction of gastrin of long-term proton pump inhibitor use, but I digress. Most of the time, the body upregulates gastrin to try to get over it because they're like, oh, your stomach acid's low, so you need more gastrin. But studies have showed long-term PPI use can actually lead to low gastrin because the body pretty much just is like, well, pumping out a whole bunch of gastrin ain't fixing it. And it could get exhausted, for the lack of the better terms, of producing gastrin. I got a blog about gastrin on Fix Your Gut. But yeah, try betaine, Jesse, and let me know how that does. Miko asks, do I recommend all Thorn products? With any company, I don't recommend necessarily all the products of a specific company. I have to look at a specific product itself. However, I do like Thorn. They do make quality products. Pure Encapsulations makes quality products. Designs for Health makes quality products. Doctor's Best is okay for a mid-level supplement company. Jarro's good for mid-level supplement company. Like if you're looking for less expensive supplements that aren't the best, Jarro, Life Extension, Doctor's Best, they might not be the best supplements, but for the cost, they're better. They're going to be better than like the supplements that you find at Walmart, for example, like Nature's Made, or the supplements you get at Costco. But I have a yeah, Jesse, just email me. You know where to find me, brother. But yeah, Thorn is, I have a blog on Fix Your Gut about my supplement company recommendations. Miko asks, what's the best supplement for bloating? Well, it depends where the bloating is. Are we talking about bloating underneath your left rib cage, which is where your stomach is? Bloating around your belly button? If it's bloating in your stomach and you don't have gastritis, then I recommend probably taking betaine HCl. Which would reduce dysbiosis in the stomach by reducing the stomach pH, which could relieve bloating. Activated charcoal can absorb gas, which that can help with bloating. Usually that would be more for the intestines than the stomach. Most people who suffer from bloating, 9 times out of 10, is because they have microbial dysbiosis in their digestive tract. Rosalind asked what I think of Ray Peat. I look at Ray Peat the same way I look at Jack Cruz, in that they're right about some things and they're wrong about others. So Ray Peat's right about gram-negative endotoxins and their negative effects on human health. Ray Peat is right about issues with estrogen and human health, especially in the digestive tract with too much estrogen. What if it's gastritis? So you do have gastritis in your stomach. You're probably dealing with upper gut dysbiosis, Miko. So check my blog on Fix Your Gut about upper gut dysbiosis. Maybe try zinc carnosine first. Of course, run everything by your healthcare professional, your doctor. I'm not a doctor. But if I were you, I would try maybe zinc carnosine. See if it helps with the bloating and the gastritis. Doctor's Best sells a good zinc carnosine. I've taken it off and on for years. But back to Ray Pete. Ray Pete's he's right that carbohydrates aren't necessarily the enemy. But he's wrong that your body doesn't make meat acid from saturated fats that can later be substituted for EPA and DHA, the omega-3 fatty acids. He's wrong that omega-3 fatty acids are bad for human health. There's tons of studies that show otherwise. And also anthropological data of once we started eating fish, we became more intelligent. So, and Ray P's right about Cascara sagrada being an okay supplement used occasionally for constipation, and maybe to help with people diagnosed with cancer. But yeah, Ray Pete is wrong about omega-3 fatty acids being against them. Ray Pete is also wrong about high sugar. For some people, it can cause problems. Jack Cruz is right about non-native EMF harming human health, differing degrees. Jack Cruz is right about omega-3 fatty acid ingestion being important for human health. Jack Cruz is right about circadian rhythm. He's wrong, really, in just his explanations of why these things are good or bad. And he's very arrogant. So you could take the good and bad from Pete. You could take the good and bad from Cruz. Take the good from both and apply them. Eat more carbs in the winter. Eat less carbs in the summer. So follow more of Pete's advice during the winter as far as carbohydrate ingestion. No, actually it's the inverse. I'm sorry, I'm tired. Eat lower carb in the summer. Eat higher carb. I mean, I messed up again. Eat lower carb in the winter. Eat higher carb in the summer. Because the sunlight exposure during the summer, you're going to need the higher amounts of carbs. The fish oil might just be because you have low stomach acid production, Jesse. Now, you need stomach acid to help process fats. Or it could be because it's rancid too, one or the other. But I doubt it. It's probably just because you can't digest fats properly. Have you ever heard of leaky gut or intestinal infection causing lymph nodes around the thigh crease getting swollen? Can leaky gut holes be fixed? I mean, it could cause... I mean, the infection can move throughout your whole body. You can have your swollen lymph nodes anywhere. Yes, increased gut permeability, hopefully in most cases, can be fixed. I have a blog series and I'm writing about it right now. The first part's already out of how someone develops increased gut permeability. The second part of the blog, which I'm writing, hopefully be out next week, is the causes of increased gut permeability or leaky gut. And the third in the series is hopefully how to find relief from it. What if it's gastritis? Miko mentioned, yeah, zinc carnosine would be my recommendation to try. What zinc carnosine does, Cheesy Puffs, is it improves the stomach lining health and the immune system of the stomach. And in doing so, if that's healthier, then you're able to produce better and more mucus, which would and reduce inflammation, which would relieve the gastritis, hopefully. Miko, look at my upper gut H. pylori blog. Let me bring it up. That's why I had H. pylori for years before I figured out that was actually my issue. So I had gastritis and silent reflux, and I went through the ringer. But hopefully this blog will help you out. There's a lot of good information on here. I actually need to update my gastritis blog. I'll do that soon because I did a lot of research into there's many different causes of gastritis. What type of issues do you have with fruit, Rosalind? Do you have diarrhea? Are you fructose intolerant? All right, I gotta go to bed. I should have been in bed by now. I realized it was midnight. Yours is from C. diff, Miko. Stomach issues from C. diff? I mean, it is possible. Clostridium difficile can reach the stomach. But that's rare. Read my blog on C. diff, too. I actually have one of the best written blogs on information at C. diff that I know of. It probably needs an updating. But, here, I'll link it in the chat. C. diff usually colonizes the colon. Sometimes it can colonize the small intestine. Very rarely, I guess, in cases like Miko, can colonize the stomach. Probably some sort of co-infection with the C. diff because you're on heavy-duty antibiotics, which cause some dysbiosis in the stomach that's separate from the C. diff. But C. diff could technically survive in the stomach. Generally, that's not its area where it's found. You're welcome. I don't want anybody to be ill. I was ill with silent reflux for many years. I was ill majority of my life. I'm better now. I'm not perfect. I gotta get a tooth removed. That never fully came in, and been having sleep apnea and TMJ issues until I can get it removed. That's been fun. It's been fun only being able to sleep on my right side at night, and doing TMJ exercises, and but hopefully that'll get resolved. That's structural. What about your low fructose fruits, Rosalind? Maybe taking a digestive enzyme with them? Maybe see if that helps. I mean, most people with fructose malabsorption is generally just because they have dysbiosis in their gut. And it either ferments the fructose or the dysbiosis inflames the lining of the small intestine. So you're not able to transport fructose and break it down properly and into the bloodstream. So it ends up being fermented by bacteria and ends up causing diarrhea. I mean, it could be genetic polymorphisms with the metabolism of fructose as well, like you have lactose intolerance. Lactose intolerance, most of the time, again, is the same as fructose intolerance. It's just dysbiosis of the small intestine, causing inflammation to the lining of the small intestine, not being able to be transported. Generally, most people don't have genetic polymorphisms that lead to lactose intolerance by itself, because that would just be disadvantageous of humans. I mean, you know, why would you have polymorphisms in lactose absorption genes? Because majority of your mother's breast milk for development is full of lactose. So, yeah, berries are low fructose, Rosalind. So it seems to be a fructose. I actually need to write a fructose intolerance blog, finally. I think I will. I got a lot of stuff to write. You might do okay with citrus fruits, Rosalind. Maybe peaches. Peaches, stone fruits like peaches have a lower pH. Not lower pH. Well, they have lower pH, but lower fructose amounts. Sorry, I don't know what I was thinking. Most of the time, lactose and fructose intolerance, again, isn't through genetic polymorphisms. It's from dysbiosis gut flora dysbiosis and small intestinal inflammation. Which, again, Cheesy Puff says, I get older and older. The older you get, the more likely you are to have leaky gut, intestinal inflammation, and dysbiosis. You're welcome, Rosalind. Anytime. I'll do my best to write that blog in the next month. If it doesn't come out, remind me. I'll try to do some more research to see if there's anything that can help you or help people with fructose intolerance. Too much fructose however, can possibly harm the liver and cause liver inflammation. But we don't know if it's because the bacteria feed off of fructose and they produce toxins like lipopolysaccharides or endotoxins that go into bloodstream with some of leaky gut, because fructose possibly could be an osmotic laxative. And it's really the endotoxins that the bacteria produce which inflame the liver, and not necessarily from fructose metabolism itself. But I digress. All right, everybody. Well, I'm going to bed. It is past my bedtime. Not good for me, circadian rhythm, to be up at midnight. But gonna go sleep until darkness. Miko, I'll look at your last question. Core biotic from Research Nutrition. I'll have to look. Thank you, Jesse. Well, it looks like a soil-based probiotic. Ooh, yeah, it is. I'm not a fan. You can go look. I'm one of the few dissenting opinions on hemostatic soil organism probiotics or soil-based probiotics. You can go look at my. I'm a partial to Bacillus coagulans, but I am not a fan of Bacillus subtilis. It can cause histamine issues. And people with histamine intolerance, most strains of Bacillus subtilis produce histamine. I'm just generally not a fan. I don't recommend hemostatic soil organisms or soil-based probiotic organisms to my clients. But I'm one of the few dissenting opinions. Not to say that soil-based probiotics haven't helped people. They have, but they also have harmed people too. And since, Bacillus subtilis, these bacteria, since, they have such strong endospore forms that they can go inactive at, are so, like, they're able to almost survive anything, right? That if they go wrong, because they're not probiotic per se, they can cause infections, so they're opportunistic. If they go wrong, they're very difficult to reduce. On this channel, I did a stream with my partner, Picture Gut Jason Hooper, about him getting a Bacillus subtilis infection when he had to have emergency abdominal surgery, and almost dying from it. And that's how we met, because he was on the Bulletproof forums, and he was like, "Help! I'm sick. I'm in the hospital." And I was like, "Let's try some more of oregano." And he, of course, he used thyme oil, which is even stronger, and was able to overcome it in the hospital and actually recover, when they were like, the doctors were pretty much throwing their hands up in the air and be like, "Oh, I can't do anything. We don't know what to do." So yeah. By the way, do you think it's a good idea for me to just avoid dairy, bread, rice, sugar foods? That would lead to gut dysbiosis, wouldn't it? Yes. So dairy depends. You got to see what you can get away with. Can you tolerate butter and ghee, which most people can? There's a little bit of lactose in butter, but there's no lactose in ghee. Most people can tolerate ghee just fine. Can you tolerate A2 dairy, like goat dairy and sheep dairy, which doesn't have A1 beta casein, which can be digested in the human body and as an opioid peptide cause inflammation and immune system deregulation, and just like the other opioid peptides like gluten, which has glutenin and gliadin, or avenin, which is in oats, or rubiscolin, which is in spinach. Bread, again, it depends how sensitive you are to gluten. But I would recommend ingesting organic wheat if all possible, because glyphosate sprayed heavily on wheat, and glyphosate reduces bifido and lactobacillus, which are probiotic bacteria in your digestive tract. There's studies to show that. And you got to avoid iron fortification in wheat too as well, products, because iron, when ingested as added iron, can be very oxidative in the gut. And also microorganisms like eating that iron too, so you can lead to dysbiosis as well. So I don't put a lot of faith in IgG and IgA food testing, Cheesy Puffs. I'm going to link. It really depends on how you feel when you ingest certain foods. I'm going to link a Chris Kresser article on food testing. IgG just means exposure. Immunoglobulin A is a little bit more accurate to sensitivities. IgG, immunoglobulin G, not so much. It's just exposure. Just because you react to something, we all react to the food we eat. It's the amount of reaction. And you would want to react to the food that you eat very mildly, because you want your immune system to test, especially in your digestive tract, through secretory IgA or secretory immunoglobulin A. You want your body to kind of say, okay, is this good for me or is this bad for me? And yeah, I mean, it is upsetting when your body's like, I can't tolerate this, or this is bad for me, and it has an overreaction and you get sick, but it does serve a purpose. You know, your immune system reacting to things serves a purpose. Now, when it overreacts, it's a problem. It's not fun. And you know, and most people want to go back to eating certain foods that they couldn't previously because they overreact. I understand that. But there's a reason why this happens, though. Most of the time, if you correct a person's microbiome and correct any nutritional deficiencies and improve their circadian rhythm and improve activation of the parasympathetic nervous system, most of the time they can go back ingesting a lot of the foods that they couldn't previously beforehand. Not always, but sometimes. I'd say most of the time. But, all right, everybody, that's it. Take care, everybody. Hope you have a good evening.